Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to another Supergirl episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Supergirl titled "Welcome to Earth," and I think this is a pretty big episode because we have the return of Linda Carter to DC, not in a superhero role, but in a role nonetheless as the female president of Supergirl's Earth. And there's actually a lot going on tonight. We had the first really proper introduction to Mon-El. We were introduced to Maggie Sawyer, and the episode ended with us being introduced to Miss Martian and McGann Morse. And between everything, I was just really excited for this episode. And just by the time it was over, I walked away thinking, I thought it was one of the best episodes of the show so far. And even though there was a lot going on in this episode, I felt, the story had a very, full kind of serious focal point. And what it had to say, especially dealing with Linda Carter's president coming into town and her being there was to essentially say, she's accepting of strangers from other planets coming onto our Earth and making it their home. And I think that really has something to say, especially what's going on in the American political, mindset, between everything going on with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and the ridiculous things he's saying and all the xenophobic, homophobic, racist things he says. I really think that this show, while sometimes it kind of beats you over the head with its messages, I feel like in this one it was subtle enough to where just first of all, seeing a show that has a female president that is not xenophobic, but it just is so welcoming and just feel such a warm person, if that makes sense. And having someone like that in the show, especially played by Linda Carter, who's she having an actress like her who can bring in that kind of vibe, I thought it really worked in this episode. Even though we didn't see as much of Linda Carter as I would have wanted, I thought seeing her nonetheless and what her character brought to the show and what her character bringing to the show had to say, I thought it worked great. And so going through some of the other things I really enjoyed about this episode, some of my favorite stuff was the banter between Alex and Maggie Sawyer. And honestly, I think they're, leading towards them possibly having some sort of relationship down the line. And one of the things I was really happy with, especially with the introduction of a character like Maggie Sawyer, who in the comics is, an LGBT character, and having that still stick in her live action debut, I thought that was a really well done part on their job. Because sometimes I get worried when they adapt LGBT characters to a live action medium, because sometimes they'll ignore that aspect of the character so that they aren't looked at, at least for the showrunners, they aren't looked at as controversial. And I'm really glad that they kept that aspect of the character in the show. That was something I was really happy to see. And also just seeing the whole aspect of the alien bar where aliens from all around the universe can come together and on a bar on Earth and just kind of unwind a bit and not worry about the DEO tracking them down or any of these other things. I thought it was really, really, it was really interesting to have that sort of place in a show like this when all they're doing is pretty much hunting aliens, even though our lead is an alien. So between that going on and having, our proper introduction to Mon-El, when, his whole thing in this episode was trying to get a signal home, and everyone else and the DEO is assuming that he was responsible for the attack on the president early in the episode, when we find out it was another alien whose race or name I don't really remember off the top of my head. I thought leading up to that, Mon-El, since he was essentially said nothing up until this episode because he was in a coma until the end of last episode. I thought what he can potentially bring to the table will be interesting, because I'm glad they kept the fact that he had the Daxamite, that he's not from Krypton, and that the Daxam and Krypton have this, harsh history with each other, considering they were at war with each other and how different they are in their ideologies. I thought that was an interesting thing to bring to the table, and seeing the banter between Mon-El and Supergirl, I thought that was really interesting to see. And I liked having that. I hope they don't go down the route of Supergirl dating Mon-El down the line. With it being the CW, I do have that worry. But at the same time, I do think that there's enough there to warrant some sort of, not relationship, but a new and interesting dynamic to the show that I'm kind of looking forward to. And so let me see what else because I was going through all my notes. And even though we didn't see a whole lot of Lena Luthor tonight, I thought they gave us some tidbits about her backstory as a character, and the fact that we find out that she's not even a blood Luthor, that she was adopted by the Luthors, which is interesting because in Smallville, their version of Lena Luthor, who was Tess Mercer, she was adopted, but you find out later in the show that she was a Luthor, and that she was Lutessa Lena Luthor and not Tess Mercer. And so that's funny how they kind of like flipped it the other way. And I would have been fine with her just being Lex Luthor's sister, and with her being Lex Luthor's sister, blood or not, I still don't know if I can trust her. But I'm really liking what they're doing with her character so far. They're doing enough to make you like her, so that way, if and when they decide that she wants to, or that she's going to be the villain at some point, I won't be too shocked. But it's still an interesting thing to have this person who first of all, the actress is really good in the role, but also have a really good and positive dynamic with Kara. It almost kind of reminds me of Lex Luthor and Clark's relationship in the earlier seasons of Smallville, because they were so close and were like essentially best friends at one point. And I doubt the show is going to make them have that close of a relationship, especially, with Kara kind of like investigating Lena in the beginning and having her biased reporting going on. And that was another aspect of the episode that I kind of enjoyed in seeing. Kara had to learn to be a reporter and not a biased reporter. And I get that. And Kara is very, from what she wrote in that initial article, I thought it was very well worded and very, like from the heart. And I liked what she said. But I can understand, like, when you're a reporter, you can't be biased, and you have to be neutral no matter how you feel about certain subjects. So I thought that was an interesting way of kind of making like, hey, you can't just like say whatever you want. This is a newspaper. We're not supposed to lean either way. We're supposed to kind of like stay in the middle. So I can get that, especially with dealing with her and Sniper Carr. If Sniper Carr, like, I don't know if I like him yet, because I feel like they're trying too hard to make him an asshole. So I'm not sure how I really feel about that. But I mean, we'll see in the coming weeks how I really feel about him. And one thing I did kind of like, that was kind of a nod to Wonder Woman, was when, the president, played by Linda Carter, was giving that speech and about to sign that thing for the aliens to be able to come onto Earth, when she was attacked and, Carl was on fire, and how she spun to like, kind of get the fire off. Obviously, that was a nod to the Wonder Woman spin that Linda Carter was famous for in the 70s Wonder Woman show. And, of course, there being the episode, I knew they were going to do something along those lines. And I was happy that they did that sort of thing. Because, again, it's Linda Carter is so synonymous with the Wonder Woman role that if you didn't do that sort of thing, I would have been not like let down, but I'm just like, I don't know. I like that little Easter egg for us fans. And I think, again, one of the biggest reveals in this episode was the introduction of, Miss Martian, played by Sharon Leal, I believe the actress' name is. I could be wrong. If you guys want to correct me in the comments below, feel free to do so. But I didn't think we'd see her this quick, because, they released that clip from the ending of the episode where, John Jones walks into the bar in his Martian form, and then she recognizes him, and then she leaves. They released that clip within the last couple of days, so I already saw that, and I thought that would have been earlier in the episode, but the fact that they end the episode with that scene, and we're introduced to Megan Morse in her Martian form, I was really surprised, because I didn't think they were going to do that yet. I thought they would have waited until like maybe next episode to do something along those lines. And honestly, I think the way they have designed her, she looks great, because like with her character in Young Justice, especially since she's a white Martian who's just taken the form of a green Martian, and obviously her form wasn't real and she's trying to look more human. Yes, she's a Martian character, but I understand she's a shapeshifter and all that stuff, but in that show, when she looked too human, and it wasn't like a bothersome thing to me. I would just like, I would have wanted, like in the Smallville season 11 comic, they made sure that they let you know that, hey, she is a Martian, so that she is going to have Martian attributes to her physical appearance. And I'm glad that they kind of kept that idea with her appearance in this show. And honestly, I don't know if they're still going to make her a white Martian, whether she's green or white in the show. I'm happy either way. The design of her is great, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with that character moving forward, especially now, just having all these great female characters introduced in the show, whether it's Maggie Sawyer or Megan Morse, or just having so many, female comic book characters on small screen or just in media in general. I think is a great thing, because sometimes we're too saturated with all the male superheroes. It's nice to have a change of pace, and we're seeing more diverse comic book characters being adapted into live action, and I'm really excited just to see more of that moving forward. So with that being said, I think that's going to be it for me. What did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? What were your guys' favorite moments? Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. So with that being said, that's going to be it for me. So until next time, guys, have a good one.